Micah Richards is the only footballer who somehow became more famous after he stopped playing. Most fans today barely remember him bombing up and down the right flank for Manchester City. They know the laugh, the chaos on CBS, the guy who turns every Champions League night into a meme factory. But rewind 20 years and this TV clown was nothing of the sort. He was England's youngest ever defender. He was the face of a new, ambitious Manchester City. He was a teenager so fearless he once rejected £100,000 a week because he refused to sit on anyone's bench. So how did a Wonderkid who lost his starting spot, wrecked his knee, and got swallowed by one of the worst relegations in Premier League history end up becoming the most in-demand personality in football media? This is the story of how Micah Richards almost wasted it all, and how he built a second career bigger than his first. Micah Richards didn't simply break into professional football, he erupted through it. Born in Birmingham, raised between Leeds and Oldham, he was bouncing between academies before most future pros even enter their first youth trial. Leeds United identified him early. Oldham Athletic polished him. But everything shifted when Manchester City brought him into their Platt Lane Academy at age 13. Even then, the whispers were loud. This kid is the future, a 6-foot bulldozer who moved like a winger, defended like a heavyweight, and smiled like a superstar in the making. Coaches talked about him as if he'd already arrived. At 17, City threw him straight into the Premier League fire, a debut against Arsenal at Highbury in October 2005. Just 4 months later, he scored a last-minute equalizer in the FA Cup against Aston Villa, then accidentally swore live on the BBC while trying to express how much it meant. Overnight, a teenage center-back became a national headline, but even that was only the beginning. In November 2006, at 18 years old, he started for England against the Netherlands, becoming England's youngest ever defender. The following year, he scored at Wembley in a Euro qualifier, heading in his first England goal at 19. His club career was rising just as fast. 34 matches in the 2006-07 season, a PFA Young Player of the Year nomination, Manchester City's Young Player of the Season award, a wage jump from £5,000 a week at 17 to £50,000 a week before turning 20. People weren't just praising him, they were projecting an entire generation onto him. Micah wasn't merely talented, he looked like the prototype for the next decade of English defending, explosive, versatile, fearless. And then, just as he breached the surface, the ground shifted beneath him, because his breakthrough collided with one of the most transformative takeovers in football history. When Abu Dhabi took over Manchester City in 2008, the club didn't just change, it went through a footballing metamorphosis. Overnight, the squad filled with stars and expectations skyrocketed. Amid the chaos of money, ambition, and global attention, one constant stood out. Micah Richards wasn't just part of the team, he was the symbol of the academy. He had captained the club at 19. He had become a fan favorite. In the 2008-09 season alone, he played 50 matches, including 15 in Europe, as City made a deep push in the UEFA Cup. Then came the 2010-11 season, the first real breakthrough for the club in decades. Mike played 31 matches, scored 3 times, and became a specialist for big moments. His goal against Notts County and his towering header against Reading on March 13, 2011, sent Manchester City to their first FA Cup semi-final in 30 years. When they lifted the trophy in May, ending the 35-year drought, Micah was right there at the heart of it. But his peak came in 2011-12. 37 matches, 5 Premier League assists, more than any defender that season. A commanding presence in the 6-1 humiliation of Manchester United at Old Trafford. Captaining domestic cup matches, dominating the right flank with raw power and aggression.
Balotelli, Aguero!
And of course, living through the title race that ended with Sergio Aguero screaming his name into eternity. Micah had become everything the club wanted, charismatic, dominant, homegrown. But beneath the success, cracks were forming. Little things, lingering injuries, small lapses being punished harder in an increasingly unforgiving squad. And standing across the dressing room from him was a quiet, relentless rival who would reshape Micah Richards' career more than any big money signing ever could. His name was Pablo Zabaleta. Of all the superstars Manchester City brought in, the battle that truly defined Micah Richards' future wasn't against Cristiano Ronaldo, Gareth Bale, or any Premier League forward. It was a fight for the right-back spot against Pablo Zabaleta. Zabaleta wasn't stronger, he wasn't quicker, he didn't have Micah's explosiveness or highlight reel tackles, but Zabaleta was relentless, unshakable, ultra-consistent. Everything Roberto Mancini valued in a defender, discipline, positioning, and tactical obedience, Micah was the destroyer. Zabaleta was the coach's blueprint. The pivotal moment arrived during contract negotiations in the early 2010s. Manchester City offered Micah a new 5-year deal worth around $100,000 a week, the biggest contract of his life. But Micah didn't want to be a backup. He believed he could win the battle or find a club that would guarantee him a starting role. He rejected the deal, later calling it the worst decision of my career.
So Man City offered me 5.5-year deal on 100 grand a week.
At what age?
I was old then, I was 26.
Oh, right.
26.
Offered you
100 grand a week, 5.5-year deal, and I said no. Yeah, I said no.
You did what?
Yeah, exactly. Because I was number 2 behind Zabaleta. And I said no.
You just wanted to play, didn't you?
I just wanted to play, that's what I mean, love of it. Look at me. So I'm not all about the money.
Have you recovered from that decision yet?
Why do you think I work for every broadcaster? I need to chop it off!
Idiots!
And joking that it's the reason he works for every broadcaster on the planet today. But jokes aside, things got worse. January 2014, FA Cup, Manchester City versus Watford. City were 2-0 down at halftime at home, a humiliation brewing. Micah started the match. Pellegrini didn't hesitate. He pulled Micah off at halftime and brought on Zabaleta. City recovered, won 4-2, and advanced. The message was brutal and unmistakable. In the biggest moments, the club trusted Zabaleta. Micah's minutes collapsed after that. He finished the Premier League season with just 2 league appearances, not even enough for a title medal. The following season delivered another hit, a loan move to Fiorentina. Instead of revitalizing his career, he played just 10 Serie A matches. The main headlines from Florence ended up being about him driving Mohamed Salah around the city rather than dominating defenders. Micah wasn't just slipping down the depth chart, he was slipping out of elite football entirely. So in 2015, he made a decision, one intended to revive his career that instead sent him into the darkest chapter of his life. The summer of 2015 was supposed to be Micah Richards' rebirth. Aston Villa offered him the captain's armband. They promised a rebuild, they promised responsibility, they promised him a team to lead. Micah didn't choose comfort. He didn't choose to sit on a Champions League bench. He chose the hard road, the one he hoped would take him back to his prime. Instead, it became a nightmare. Within weeks of joining Aston Villa, the entire project collapsed. Fabian Delph left for Manchester City. Christian Benteke left for Liverpool. Sherwood's rebuild fell apart before it ever took shape. Micah gave everything he had, 26 Premier League matches, multiple positions, trying to hold together a defense that was falling apart faster than anyone could stop it. Villa didn't just struggle, they imploded. 1 win in the first 12 matches, an 18-match winless run, a relegation confirmed in April, a final points tally of 17, one of the lowest totals ever in Premier League history. But results weren't what broke Micah Richards. It was the environment.
Weren't, I won't say not good enough, but there was too early on in their careers to deal with Premier League football. And fans were waiting outside the training ground. So what I used to do, drive my car to the Belfry and get a taxi to training, just so I couldn't get no stick off the fans. I didn't have to stop and take the abuse.
He later admitted he sometimes parked miles from the training ground and took taxis just to avoid hostile fans. Every defeat brought confrontation. Every mistake turned into a headline. Every day felt like a battle. And while Villa were sinking, Micah's knee, the foundation of his entire playing style, was disintegrating, swelling, locking, failing. After October 2016, Micah Richards still had years left on his Aston Villa contract. He still trained, he still tried to recover, he still believed he could come back. But his knee was gone. For nearly 3 years, he fought a battle invisible to the public. Injections, rehab programs, specialists, strengthening routines, nothing worked. Even simple movements caused swelling. Running was agony, playing was impossible. Meanwhile, Aston Villa rebuilt without him. The club moved on, not out of cruelty, but necessity. Micah Richards became the forgotten man, not because he didn't care, not because he didn't try, but because his body, the thing that had made him special, simply gave out. There was no farewell tour, no testimonial match, no dramatic send-off. Just a quiet announcement in July 2019, confirming what his body had been telling him for years. His career was over at 31. His career numbers were frozen forever. 21 senior club appearances, 8 goals, 13 England caps, one Premier League title, one FA Cup, and a mountain of what-ifs. For many players, that's where the story ends. You fade away, the game moves on, but Micah Richards wasn't finished, not even close. Because the moment he stepped into a TV studio, the world discovered something most players never show, the real version of himself. Micah Richards didn't enter punditry as a legend, strolling into retirement. He entered as someone searching for a second chance, and he found it instantly. Sky Sports, Match of the Day, BBC Radio 5 Live, interviews and documentaries. The industry picked up on something rare. Micah wasn't polished, he wasn't rehearsed, he wasn't trying to sound like anyone else. He was honest. He spoke openly about earning 50,000 baud a week at 19, about rejecting 100,000 baud a week, about losing his place to Zabaleta, about his career collapsing at Villa, about driving Mohamed Salah around Florence, about the knee that stole his future. Fans weren't used to that kind of transparency. Most pundits protect their image. Micah dismantled his, publicly. Then came the moment that transformed him from a refreshing pundit into a global personality. CBS Sports signed him for Champions League coverage. They put him next to Thierry Henry, Jamie Carragher, and Kate Scott, and the chemistry exploded immediately.
Raphael, when you see the games tomorrow, obviously the big rival of yours, Inter Milan, are in the other semi-final. Would you like that?
I didn't understand. Can you repeat, please?
Inter Milan are playing tomorrow, Internazionale. Would you like to face them in the semi-final?
Clips of Micah crying with laughter at Carragher's pronunciation of Internazionale, the entire studio collapsing after a joke about Stade Brestois. Micah roasting Henry, Henry roasting him, Kate holding the chaos together. Suddenly his laugh wasn't just a laugh, it was a brand. People who had never seen him play suddenly knew him better than some current players. And while American audiences fell in love with him through CBS, the UK welcomed him back through Match of the Day. The rest is football, Sky features, and endless interviews. By 2025, Micah Richards wasn't just working for every broadcaster as a joke. He actually was. But what made him special wasn't the memes or the chaos, it was everything he revealed behind them. Because beneath the humor was someone who had dealt with real pain, physical, emotional, and career-ending. And sharing that part of himself made fans connect with him in a way few former players ever achieve. Micah Richards' story doesn't follow football's usual script. He burst into the Premier League as England's youngest defender. He dominated for Manchester City during their rise. Then injuries, competition, and one disastrous move to Aston Villa took everything away. He went from lifting the Premier League trophy to being unable to train, from captaining Manchester City to hiding from fans during a relegation season, from being a future England star to retiring quietly at 31. Most careers end there, but Micah's didn't, because the moment football closed its door, he kicked down another one. He rebuilt himself not through trophies, but through honesty, not through achievements, but through vulnerability, not through a perfect career, but through an imperfect one he wasn't afraid to talk about. Today, millions know the laugh. Millions know the chaos on CBS. Millions know the honesty on Match of the Day and in countless interviews and podcasts. He became a figure more influential after retirement than he ever was on the pitch. So what will fans remember in 20 years? The header against Reading, the assist versus Manchester United, his role in City's first Premier League title, or the moment he collapsed laughing live on television and made the entire world laugh with him? Maybe that's the real twist in Micah Richards' story. He didn't need a flawless career to leave a mark. He just needed a second chance and the courage to be himself.